everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 70, season 6, episode 7 of Natsume's Book of Friends. But also, we are finally able to look into the manga that is going to cover season 5, as well as some of season 6, because we're going to talk about volume 13 before we dive into this new episode in this introduction. So bear with me, but I want to talk about this manga because it's been so long since I've been able to talk about the manga. Volume 13. The cover is Natsume. The cover gave it away, like what the focus of this volume was going to be about. And I was like, oh, okay. But then there was a twist and a surprise. So the main point of this volume 13 is covering episodes 3 and 4 of season 5, the letter, and then when Natsume goes to Motoba's mansion and the whole debacle surrounding that. It's such a good combination of episodes. But I think it's interesting that the volumes of manga that start out with the material that it does is like 3 or 4 episodes into the actual season. It always seems like the anime starts out with like a few episodes to ease the audience back into Natsume's Book of Friends and being like, here's a nice episode to be the season premiere. Here's a nice episode to ease you into it. But the real meat of the manga, we're going to save till we're like 3 or 4 episodes in. And then we're going to reveal it to you. And it's been a trend with the series. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it's just wild how it does that. I do appreciate that the mangaka works with the studio to create the anime. So they kind of have a hand in like pacing wise. I like it because it's like pacing wise, what works for a manga doesn't always translate to an anime, so they can kind of work together. And the episodic nature of Natsume's Book of Friends kind of helps for the anime to adapt it the way that it does. But it does things out of order, as we're about to see with this volume, that I was like, oh, okay. So volume 13, I like this image of Reiko, that she's like just sitting on top of the statue, kind of like she's just disregarding. I like it because it represents Reiko kind of disregarding the societal expectations of how humans should interact with yokai and with spirits. She's just kind of like F that and does whatever she wants. And she's barefoot, so, you know, it kind of like lends to the idea of she just doesn't care what happens to her, which is a little bit genetic, but, you know, we've talked about that in this series. So right off the bat, we establish the Motoba, like the storyline of Natsume going to see Natori is pretty much how it is in the manga versus the anime. But we get our first editorial as we get into the little ceiling thing where Natsume stumbles across the exorcist that's trying to seal the yokai and then takes it to Natori to talk about. So the first editorial says, "Hello, I'm Midodori Kawa. This is my 21st graphic novel. I'm so happy and grateful. I'd like to keep working hard to make many more manga for people to enjoy." Yeah, it's wild they've been writing for so long. And this was compiled like back in 2016 was when this manga came out. So like 10 years ago. Wild. Yeah, I liked this shot of Natori and Natsume, just like in the anime where they seal the yokai in his apartment. It looks great. I also like the black versus white, Natori versus Natsume. It's a good way to distinguish the two of them symbolically as well as visually. And then we get the idea of him finding the letter to Motoba inside one of the jars. Yep. I want to also point out that the manga, this mangaka really loves to draw Motoba because Motoba looks amazing throughout this entire volume. Motoba looks great. I like that it feels as if the mangaka, whenever they're drawing Motoba, they don't spend as much time on the background, and you could say that that's being lazy. You could give it a tight Kubo treatment if you wanted to, but I feel as if it's really the mangaka saying Motoba is front and center, and Motoba should take your attention, and you should be paying attention to Motoba. So you could call it lazy, whatever you want to, but I think it's a deliberate choice to be like, I want you to focus on him because he's really important in these scenes. I also really, really like some of the cover art that the mangaka Morikawa does for this. Like, I like this kind of Black Butler-esque shot of Natsume with the little yokai. There's like the little yokai from previous episodes, and then Madara drinking out of the teacup. I really like it. It looks really cool. It kind of gives Natsume like what if Natsume was an exorcist vibe, which let's not get crazy. That's a little much, but I really, really like it. Another thing I really like is when Matoba is threatening Natsume, there are the shots just like in the anime. There's a few more shots in the manga than there are the anime of Madara looking at Matoba like, I really could eat you. And I really wouldn't mind it. like Madara's keeping a very level head and keeping it under control for Natsume's sake, but he's like, I could really hurt you if I wanted to. And it's really, really good. But then, yeah, these two pages here are two that I really want to talk about as well with the manga. One is of Matoba. I love the way that the mangaka physically shows Matoba kind of standing over Natsume, being like, you'll help us, won't you? Like showing this like imposing power and authority he's trying to like project onto Natsume. And Natsume's like, no. I also like that, you know, we just got done watching episode 3 of season 6 not that long ago with Shibata. And Natsume's very, you know, conflicted and outbursty and frustrated outwardly with Shibata. But that's more of kind of like a playful outburst Natsume. This Natsume is emotional because he just really doesn't like Matoba. Just really doesn't like him. And then we get Matoba saying, well, you haven't told them about your ability? Do you want me to talk to them for you? And then this page where he's like, I could tell them the terrible things you've seen and the harsh experiences you've suffered, and that it still continues to this day. Like Matoba gets really into Natsume's space, and I'm like, sir, this young man is still a child. Leave him alone. And he's just like, he's very threatening in the manga. Like, I could tell them they don't have the means in their tranquil lives to keep you safe. Like, he really threatens Natsume in the manga to be like, I'll tell them how you're suffering at the hands of yokai and freak them out and make them think they're not a good home for you. Like, he's not just threatening to reveal Natsume's abilities and let Natsume fill in the blanks of the Fujiwaras not accepting him. He's literally saying he's going to tell the Fujiwaras that they aren't able to keep him safe and drive them away himself. And that's terrifying. I'm like, Matoba, no. And the way that the mangaka draws Matoba there, where he looks so, he's evil. I know that people ship him into Tori, but I'm like, Matoba is threatening, and I don't like his character. I'm like, no, quit being that way, especially manga Matoba. And then, yeah, the moment after Natsume runs off and he's like, well, I'll be waiting here, and if you don't meet me here, I'll come to your house. And he looks over, and Madara is just looking at Matoba like, I would eat you. I really would. But Natsume would be mad at me. So, bitch, back off. And then the little gloom with Natsume. Poor Natsume. Poor Natsume. And then it shows him. I love this panel of him before we get to the editor's notes of him eating with Shoko and Shiguru. And he's just like, yeah, everything's great. And then he looks over and Madara looks back at him like, we're going to go with this bastard, right? And he's like, yes. He's like, you're in a bad mood. He's like, well, why would you think that? I love it. I love Madara and Natsume on the same wavelength about Matoba. It's great. So editorial number 2, Hotarubi no Mori. Oh, we reacted to this on the channel. If you've not seen Hotari no Mori, go check that out. It's on my channel. I reacted to it. It is such a good OVA. I had a earlier on this year, like back in January. Oh my god, back in January. Oh my god, back in January. It's been 5 months. What is time? But I did I did react to it. Oh my god, it just hit me. That was so long ago this year. But yeah, I reacted to that back when we were on break in between one series of a show that I was watching, and the season that followed it had like a week break, and so I watched it in between. But they made an animated movie out of the short story called Hotarubi no Mori that I wrote a while back. I'd like to thank the movie theaters that showed it and everyone who came to see it. The same director, staff, composer, and artists who worked on Natsume's anime made a beautiful movie about the slow but inevitable and relentless passage of time. I knew it would be embarrassing to cry watching my own work, so I tried hard not to, but I fought myself getting more teary-eyed over some of the simple scenes anyway. I worked on this manga quite a long time ago, but there are a number of devoted fans, so I was a little apprehensive despite my excitement over it being animated. but director Omori and the staff put tender, loving care into their work. Please check it out if you get the chance. Yes, you can definitely tell that the same crew that works on the Natsume anime worked on it. It is beautiful. If you've not seen it, go to my channel, go check it out. It's in one of the playlists, or you can search my videos and it'll be there, or you can just search up Hotar, or you can just search it up and it'll be on there. So hopefully you get a chance to check it out. And if you can find it, let me know in the comments and I'll hook you up. All right. So yeah, so again, we get more into, what I loved about episodes 3 and 4 of season 5 was mainly Matoba talking about more of the exorcists and their backgrounds and everything. And so he talks about how the Notori family was in opposition to many exorcists and they had to look into adoption, and it was pathetic to watch. And they ultimately went out of business. They were always terrified that every little misfortune was retaliation from the yokai. And then Shuichi was born. Can you imagine the expectations? I'm sure he became fed up with his relatives. And the way that they draw Natsume and his reaction, I feel like it's Natsume realizing that him and Notori are maybe not so different in terms of feeling like pressure from their relatives and also pressure from being able to see yokai. I feel like this set of episodes was a good like bonding moment between Notori and Natsume, because Natsume kind of realized that maybe him and Notori have a little bit more similar in common. But yeah, so then Matoba's like, you should just join my clan, and Natsume's like, no, you just told me you use people. And then he says, oh, my apologies. I often choose the wrong words. Matoba just tries to smooth everything over. Like, everything's fine. What are you talking about? He's like, tries to be a Yakuza meets used car salesman meets like, what am I trying to think of? He's from Interview with the Vampire. Not Lestat, not Louis, but maybe Armand. Yes, Armand. He tries to be like Armand. And it's just like, what a weird combination. And luckily, Natsume is not falling for it. He's like, no, you just threatened to out me to my family, you weirdo. Like, stop. One thing that the manga does do a little bit different than the anime is that when the woman showed up that was the yokai in disguise, the manga makes it pretty apparent that it's a yokai, pretty apparent right off the bat that it is, although I think the anime did a little bit better job of keeping it a mystery until Natsume identified them. But yes, then we have the same moment of Natsume posing as one of the yokai, and I really like the way the mangaka draws Matoba and the way he looks in this panel. He just looks very sly but amused. The way the mangaka draws Matoba and his expressions is super interesting. Like, you can tell the mangaka really likes drawing Matoba. You can just tell. But yeah, and then again, the little panels like here where Matoba talks about, do you ever go home and consider when anything bad happens, it might be because of the yokai or because of you? How can you live with that every single day? The shot of Madara in the corner there being like, excuse me, we have worked for a long time for 5 seasons to get Natsume in a better headspace. Quit trying to undo all the hard work we've done. Like, I love Madara's face in that corner. Just like, he is ready to attack Matoba at any given moment, but Natsume has not told him it's okay, so he's holding himself back. But oh, I am Madara in that panel. I am Madara in that panel. I legit am. And I really love that Natsume responds saying, I'm done talking about this. No matter how many times you ask, I'm not going to join you. I have my own relationships to forge, and you have no right to interfere. And he runs away, and I love that Madara says, the nerve of that guy. I can eat him anytime, you know. And Natsume's like, I know. I love that exchange, and I love the way they draw it in the manga, where it's Natsume with his back to Madara being like, I know you want to eat him. I kind of want you to as well, but I'm being nice. And Madara's like, I love it. It's so well done. So then we have editorial number 3. And then I love this shot before we read it of Madara just biting this guy's arm. It's great. The tubby tanuki thing bit me. So, okay, the mangaka is going to talk about Nishimura and Kitamoto, and that's going to be important here in a moment, but I'm going to read this editorial first. Nishimura. I think the first impression Nishimura gets of somebody like Natsume is, I don't like this guy, but he's curious about things he doesn't like. His personality is such that he wants to figure out what he doesn't like about it. This might get him in trouble sometimes. I think of him as a man of action. I would agree with that. I imagine him coming into conflicts with some older students, whereas Kitamoto is the type to respect his seniors. That was my impression from the beginning. On the other hand, if someone shows vulnerability, Nishimura resolves to help out. He's probably the most soft-hearted person in this manga. To say he's more soft-hearted than Natsume is a testament. But yeah, I do definitely feel I feel like Nishimura is very much a guy that like reacts upon his emotions immediately, and that gets him into trouble. But if he senses vulnerability that is adjacent to his own, then he's immediately like empathetic towards you and wants to help you out, which I really appreciate, right? He reminds me of a character from Uramichi Onisan named Usao. His character that he plays in the show is Usao-kun. And he kind of is the same way. He's really soft-hearted, but he also is very like surface-level action-based. So it gets him in a lot of trouble. And I like that about his character. But we're going to talk about that more in here in a second. And then, yeah, there's the moment where Matoba's like, how did you form a contract with such a powerful yokai? And Natsume's like, I didn't sign a contract. I made a promise. And that's different, bitch. I'm just like, I love those episodes so much. They're so, so good. They're some of my favorites in season 5, for sure. So, here's the thing. Volume 13 of the manga, I told you all back when I finished season 5 that the moderator Floor was like, hey, you can't read any of the manga covering season 5 until after you watch episode 6 of season 6. And I was like, okay, all right. So some of the manga is going to involve season 6 content and they merge together because, you know, the anime is getting created a while after the manga's been out. And I appreciate that about this series, that the mangaka worked with the anime team to be like, okay, pacing wise, here's what you should cover in season 5. Here's what you should cover in season 6. Here's what you should cover in season 7. And it may mix the manga together a little bit and adapt it at different times. That's fine. Volume 13 covers episodes 3 and 4 of season 5, which we just talked about, and the episode we watched last week. I was like, oh, I couldn't read volume 13 until after I finished episode 6 last week because it literally covers the episode we just watched. I was like, oh, wow, okay. So yeah, the rest of this volume is a special episode. They split it into 2 chapters. The mangaka did a special episode 10, which is Nishimura and Natsume, and special episode 11, which is Kitamoto and Natsume. And then episode 6 we watched last week just combines those 2 chapters into one episode, which is great. It's crazy. So yeah, editorial 4, Kitamoto. He's used to being conscientious. He thinks you can solve problems without getting angry or getting into a confrontation. That's what Natsume respects about Kitamoto. I could see that. Kitamoto, on the other hand, likes Nishimura for his free-spirited nature. Kitamoto's a little awkward because he unconsciously feels responsible for everything. He has that in common with Natsume. I created Kitamoto hoping he could be someone who could hang out with Natsume without the two of them feeling nervous. Yeah, I really like that because you kind of get that impression. Nishimura kind of, is very opposite of Natsume in a lot of ways, but it's one of those opposite attracts as friends sort of situations. But then you have Kitamoto, who is very similar to Natsume, actually. And it's kind of cool. It's cool to have a friend that's very similar to you that you can relate to and feel comfortable around. And it's also good to have a friend who's opposite of you that you can kind of grow from and learn from. So that's really smart. I like that a lot. But yeah, the rest of the chapters are just literally focusing on that. It's kind of crazy. So we have this little Hotaribi no Mori premiere, the movie premiere that's on here. It's super cute. I love the mangaka style. You can definitely tell on here. It's like, I went to the movie premiere at Cine Libre Ikebukuro. I was fascinated by the beautiful gallery of storyboards and background art in the lobby. Well, that would have been cool to see. It was a happy time, nervously waiting for the movie to start with the other attendees. Amid the sounds, light, and beautiful greenery characteristic of summer, the events and emotions settled into place, culminating in something graceful and sublime. I tried not to cry, but the tears came anyway. The actors were wonderful. I felt like I had met Gin and Hotaru. The ending music was also beautiful. I was so moved. And there were cutouts after the movie. It's so cute. Oh, these 3 were what says these three are cute after the movie. Okay, cool. And it shows the actors and everything. Nice. Nice. And then yeah, Kitamoto and Natsume. I like that we have them sitting there all in black. I really like it. I like also kind of the duality of you have Natsume and Nishimura in white and you have Kitamoto and Natsume in black. That's really cool. I like that. So editorial number 5, Tanama. We're going to talk about that here in a minute because I was like, oh, okay. I was like, you're only taking 2 chapters to adapt an entire episode? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Tanama, when the name and face fit perfectly as I started working on a character, it usually develops from there as I expect. But Tanama didn't easily become fast friends with Natsume as I planned. He seems endlessly nervous. He's actually quite calm, but when Natsume's around, he becomes nervous, trying to become better friends with him, making Natsume also nervous in the process. He's difficult to figure out, but it's a new experience, so he's fun to draw. Yeah, those two getting nervous around each other. Okay, mangaka. Urhime and Sasago. I really like these two, but they don't like Natsume very much. So Notori puts them away when he meets with Natsume. I haven't had much opportunity to draw them in depth, and I'll get to it one day. I'm wondering if that will be when we get to the content of season 6 fully in the manga, where we do actually get Sasago and Urihime that we saw back in the first couple episodes. I wonder if we're going to get to that. Interesting. So yeah, so you may be wondering, Natsume and Nishimura and Kitamoto, there's only 2 chapters, how you can make an entire episode out of that. Well, as it turns out, Tanama was introduced in this as well. So there's a segment where another transfer student comes in and it's Tanama, and Kitamoto and them are like, another dude. And so we see Tanama and it's like, I wonder if my dad will be better by then. So Kitamoto is wondering that. This is in the Kitamoto chapter. And then he's like, Tanama, what's wrong? But so apparently Kitamoto also notices that Tanama gets the headaches because of the yokai being nearby. I can understand in the anime why they cut Tanama out, because Tanama just seems like he's inserted in here to put him in the flashback of like when Natsume met him, but he's not really important. He just kind of shows up for this one scene or two, and then the climax where Kitamoto sees Natsume wrapped up in the curtain that we saw last week, that's without Tanama. So I could see why they cut him out, but I was reading the manga going, oh, ha. And so yeah. So Kitamoto takes Tanama to the nurse's office where Sasada is there with Natsume. And so Natsume's like passed out from experiencing a yokai. And then she says he must be stressed from his new environment. Now, Sasada in this page says, you're friends with him. You don't think it's abuse, do you? And Kitamoto and Nishimura stand up and say, no, it's obvious the Fujiwaras are nice people. I like this because in the manga, it establishes that Kitamoto and Nishimura both know that the Fujiwaras are a safe environment for Natsume. But because Tanama's here, hearing all of this, he knows now as well. And Natsume does not realize that all 3 of them are kind of sticking up for the environment that he's in. And then Sasada says, well, Natsume's weird, and there are some rumors. Have you heard anything? And Tanama's like, well, how is he weird? And I like that Nishimura and Kishimoto are like, it's not worth talking about. I can't believe you're concerned about rumors, Sasada. I like they kind of chide her, being like, don't be worried about rumors. And she's like, oh yeah, sorry. And then they say to Tanama, come to think of it, you remind me of Natsume a bit. So were these guys wingmen and didn't even realize it? Probably. But yeah, I love that. And then we get to see like all of them hanging out. I like the little shot of Tanama saying, hello, Ponta, like to Madara. But yeah, and then they look at Natsume, like Nishimura and Kitamoto say, you talk to Tanama a lot. And he's like, yeah, we get along. You two are grumpy old men. Sure, say you're married without saying you're married. I love it. And that's when they get into the career surveys and all that. So it's great. I love that addition. So yeah, the afterword. I love this little afterword with Motoba and them and him like passing the flower to Natsume. It's great. And then Madara with the little thing there says, now that he has more friends and people who understand him, Natsume is better able to make a stand for what he believes in. But he has to face that there's a dark side to both humans and yokai that he can't fully deny or embrace. Also, there's something in his life that doesn't disappear the way yokai do, and it's slowly starting to scare him. Ooh. Please read the rest of this afterward, only after reading the entire volume to avoid spoilers. Ah, I love it. And then the afterward ends with, I'm so blessed they're producing a 4th season of the anime. So this was coming out, the manga was coming out as the 4th anime was getting published, which goes to show you how much in advance they could plot out the anime and what it was going to do, which is really cool. I would like to thank the director, the animation staff, the voice actors, and everyone who helped with the 1st and 2nd seasons and worked together to develop the 3rd and 4th seasons. And thank you to all the viewers, the readers of the manga, and the editors. For me, Natsume has become a precious title that brought me to work with so many people, and I would like to apply myself episode by episode to keep making manga people can enjoy. Love it! Love it! So I know I talked for like nearly 30 minutes about this intro, but I think it's important to go over volume 13 because it was so good. And it didn't cover a lot of content, but the content it did cover was quality. And I was like, so good to know. Good to know. But yeah. So that was volume 13, and I don't have any comments right now because I am recording a little bit ahead because I wanted to give myself time to read volume 13 in advance to record this. So we'll see if we have comments for next week, but we'll look at volume 14. I'm a little bit concerned about volume 14 because I went ahead and bought volumes 13 and 16 all together because I want to, support the official release, support the mangaka. And then when I bought volume 14, it said, like, usually they just say, okay, Viz Media is the studio that releases them. For volume 14, it said T for teen, and I was like, it's never said that. Why does it say that? What? Or I haven't noticed it if it's said it on previous volumes, so I'm going to go back and check that out. But preview for next week, I guess. I am ready to go. I hope you all are as well, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to get ready to start episode 70 or 7 of season 6 of Natsume's Book of Friends. And we're going to get this here started. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. Making my way downtown. The start of this with the piano, it makes me think of 1,000 Miles, the Vanessa Carlton song. I cannot help it. I'm like, but then it immediately transfers and it doesn't. I don't like seeing Natsume as a sad little kid at all. No, thank you. Aww. Why do you make Madara look so cute? I love this theme of just growing up. And then you see, like, Reiko by herself. And you see Reiko alone and Natsume with Madara. And the dandelions and all of that. He's like, really? A rough day? Well, duh, I was getting crunk. Oh. As one does. You think he'd be used to that by now. Ah, damn it, Sensei. Out drinking. Oh, God. He's like, nope, Grandma, not her. He's like, ah, shit, every time. Yeah! That, huh. Oh, my God! This mustachioed yokai. Oh, my God. This mangaka loves a hairball, like, looks like critters. And become famous. He's like, son of a bitch. Oh, okay, so we're not gonna get the full episode as a flashback. Oh my god. No. 'Tis the question. Oh. Really? Oh. Yeah, thank Reiko. Gomochi's benefactor. Like, this is a rarity. Oh, hello. Hi, Gomochi. Oh, I love Natsume holding Madara. Like this little, like, sheep spirit. Quite a ways from here. Interesting. Interesting. And Natsume's like, girl, what did you do? You just wandered around the forest? Aw. Oh. Huh. That one looks like Jason. Oh. I wonder why she went there to take a nap where no one would bother her. Oh god! Oh god! Ah! That's called self-defense. An overreaction is what it is. Love it. Oh. Oh. The power of rumors. Oh. Well, you just said. Oh. Oh. Interesting. I feel like I've heard that voice actor before. Oh, they're all crouching around her, holding her. Huh. Oh. You don't know them? Oh. Is that what they want her to help with? Would you fight them and break up? Yeah, break up their fight. Yes, a great idea. Child of man, please. We've all been eavesdropping this whole time. Oh, wow. Mother of yokai, please. Oh, all of them. Oh. 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 Ooh, interesting. She is a lot different than Natsume, which is interesting. Oh my god. Quit wrecking the for. Ah, okay. Oh, a bull and a ram, of course. Oh. Oh. Oh, she's beautiful, yeah. She's like, all right, Hashtag feminism kicked in. So nope. Bye. Yes. Do you want to marry either of these losers? Yes. No, neither of them. All right, girl. She's like, all right, you got me. We're gonna get these out. No. She's like, looks like I gotta kick some ass and take some names. She don't want to marry either of you. Yeah. Neither of you. Yes, exactly. Get it. Yes. Yes. It's not too late for Pride Month. It's about justice. Girl, yes. Look at our group of allies out there. Uh-huh. Oh. 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 Who would she get yelled at by? A crazy person. But she came back the next day. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So she was staying somewhere where she needed to be back by a certain time. Are you Sinki or Hyako? Okay, come at me, bro. Yeah, why aren't you fighting me by yourself? Oh. 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 Oh, wow, and her tying her skirt up. Oh. And she's gonna knock the fruit off. Smart, smart, smart. I got it first. Smart girl, girl. Nice, nice. I mean, she didn't say you couldn't do that. Right. Oh, damn. Hmm. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. And Natsume hearing this, yeah. Oh. Oh. Uh, I don't think that was how this works. Uh, oh, shit. She's like, well, shit. I didn't get to choose this one. Oh. Hmm. Oh. Oh. Wow, you turn. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you frame it like that. Help me win. Yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of them. I mean, there's a ton of them. Oh. Oh, God. She's like, oh, shit, I didn't do anything. I hate losing. Huh. Oh. Interesting. Oh. Oh. Mmm. Mmm. Oh my God. Mmm. Hmm. I don't like losing. Oh. 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 Yeah. Oh, the people I'm living with. Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. Huh. Oh, y'all. Wow. That's a very different environment than Natsume. Oh, and him hugging Madara! Him hugging Madara at those words! Hmm. Aww. Aww. It's not for you, it's for, the yokai. Oh. Hmm. Oh. 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 Them looking at her like, oh, wow. And they all helped her. Oh, wow. 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 Oh. Yes. Wow. But, oh. Oh. Probably not. Oh, wow. Where I know people. Wow. Mmm. Huh. She could have. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A no good woman. Medora can say that though, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was the update? Oh! 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 Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh, that's so cute! Oh! Of course! Oh my god, holding him while he holds a little sake cup. Oh my god, that's adorable. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Oh, wow. But maybe she does see it through you. Oh. Oh, look at Ladara's little face. Oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. That's so adorable. Oh my gosh. Y'all. Y'all. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. This episode was adorable. Oh my gosh. Anytime we get more insight into Reiko, it is such a treat. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, y'all. Shut up. Shut the front door. Okay, this episode was great. I honestly I love any episode that involves Reiko. Any episode that involves Reiko because she is so mysterious and the mangaka keeps everything about Reiko so close to the vest. It's just I love it so much. It's so good. But this episode was great. I what I like about it is that again, Natsume has been so hungry for information about Reiko. He has been so hungry to learn more about his grandmother, to learn about how she is different than him, how she's similar to him. And anytime outside characters can give insight, because Madara ain't saying a damn word. Madara is, as much as Madara has mellowed and opened up and changed, Madara is not going to say things about Reiko, particularly because as we've seen in a lot of flashbacks, Madara was not necessarily around Reiko for a lot of this. So Madara can't speak to some things that he doesn't know. So this episode was so cute and wonderful to get Natsume to get that perspective about his grandmother that he hadn't had before. I love that Madara won't change. Madara's always going to go out and get crunk. His fellow yokai. He's not going to turn down a drinking party. He's like, yeah, he's like, duh, where else would I be? And again, Natsume's like, look, I still got a deal 6 seasons into this series with people knocking on my door and showing up in the middle of the night asking for Reiko and threatening to crush this house and all this jazz. Reiko is such an interesting character because there's been yokai that she's pissed off, yokai that she's wrote down in the Book of Friends, and then yokai that she's just randomly helped out, which in that sense is not far off from Natsume. The only difference is, whereas Reiko has not really interacted with much of humanity as we've seen, that's the biggest mystery, is that we don't see Reiko interacting with people. She avoids them at all cost. But it's like she had to have interacted with them at some point, otherwise she wouldn't have had a daughter. So it's like, okay, when did that happen? We don't know. But she had to have interacted with them at some point, and the Exorcist community knows about her, so she had to have interacted with them at some point. We just don't know what. But with Reiko, it's she's interacted with yokai, and the yokai either love her, hate her, or fear her. And then you have the yokai and humans with Natsume, and the yokai, for the most part, love Natsume. But the exorcists either fear him or dislike him. And it's interesting. Notori's kind of the exception to the rule. And well, Notori and then his mentor who has met Natsume, a few episodes ago, but interesting. So yeah, this mangaka also likes drawing yokai that look like critters. The 1980s critters. They're just little balls of hair with eyes and arms, and that's all they are. They really like a Mankey-esque, Pokemon-esque yokai, right? So then we have Gomochi, and Gomochi shows up. I like Madara saying, how many yokai did Reiko piss off? I feel like Madara's kind of chiding Reiko about it. But yeah, Gomochi is like, oh, Reiko's died. So again, just to show the passage of time and how it's different for yokai versus humanity, Reiko was fairly young, like in high school age that we suggest. Now, I don't think Reiko went to school. I think Reiko dropped out, which we'll talk about in this. But Reiko, was fairly young, like either teenage or late teenage years when she met Gomochi. And now her grandson is a teenager, which shows the passage of time. And just now, Gomochi is deciding to marry. Gomochi getting the girl, Gomochi getting Kabune at the end as his bride is such a beautiful little turn of events, that instead of these two like hyper stereotypical toxic masculine yokai fighting over their right to be worthy of her, instead Reiko gives her freedom, and she helps Gomochi take care of the forest, looking for Reiko and all that. And along the way, they build a friendship and they build a connection and they build a love for one another. And it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful message. It's like, yes, thank you. Nice. Friends to lovers. I love it. Reiko helped me with something. Reiko helped her to get a bride. Reiko helped Gomochi get a bride, which is great. I like Madara's even like, you've come to thank Reiko? What? Like, what? Someone's coming to give Reiko flowers? Excuse me? Even Natsume's like, this is unusual. I love Gomochi. Gomochi is so sweet. I live in Nanafusa Forest, which is a ways away from here. Now, I think there's a lot to be said about this that's not told directly to us, the audience, but what we know so far. Reiko's been avoiding people, and Reiko traveling to a forest far away just to hang out. I think that speaks volumes. It makes us, the audience, ask the question, did she go to this forest to escape from the exorcist? Did she go to this forest because she wasn't going to school and had to be somewhere that day? Was she going to escape where she was living from? Because it seems like she only went back at night to check in, or if she knew they were out late just to stick around. There's a lot that's left unsaid, but she just wanted to go take a nap on the grassy hill, which is interesting. And she's in her school uniform, so it's clear she's supposed to be in school, but she's not, right? Which is interesting. I do like when they throw the rocks at her and, you know, are picking on her, and then she picks up the boulder like, oh, I can give it back 20 times more. And they're like, ah, shit. And I like Natsume being like, you know, that was just self-defense. And Madara's like, that's an overreaction. I like Natsume veered on the side of getting on Reiko's side, and Madara's like, no, she should have thrown the boulder, which is funny. So then they all start spreading a rumor about Reiko, that she can force godlike beings to obey her, which is the Book of Friends. But what I appreciate about this episode is the Book of Friends wasn't even brought up. They didn't even talk about the Book of Friends. Was not even discussed, right? So she's like, they could force godlike beings to obey her. And they're like, that's scary. And so they're like, what if we talk to her about our problem with these two yokai? And they're like, well, what could she do? So she kind of gets involved. And Reiko is very different from Natsume in that Natsume is very polite. Natsume's are very mannerly. Reiko is not. And I like that Reiko and Natsume are very different people. Even though they're related, they're not the same. And I like Reiko being like, what are you guys just chattering about? I'm trying to take a nap. And I liked the yokai kind of stuck up for themselves. And they're like, this is our forest. Just leave. And she kind of stops and goes, yeah, I guess that's true. You know, she doesn't argue them. She's just kind of like, oh, when they call her bluff, she kind of reveals that, oh, yeah, I guess that is true. And so then they're like, yeah, these two yokai are fighting over this other yokai. And at first, Reiko doesn't want to get involved. At first, Reiko's like, this has nothing to do with me. I don't want to get involved with this. No, thank you. And she shows that she is similar to Natsume in the sense of Natsume over the course of this series, after 6 seasons, demonstrated at the beginning of this season being like, hey, I don't want to get involved. I know that bad things can come of this. You guys sort it out yourselves. I'm just here. No, thank you. And that's very similar to Reiko. But just like Reiko, once they reveal that, oh no, this yokai is being oppressed and this yokai is being held against their will, Reiko's sense of justice cannot just sit there and let that happen. And Natsume is the exact same way. Natsume is not going to get involved unless you suddenly reveal, oh no, this individual's in trouble. And then Natsume's like, well, I don't want them to be disadvantaged. So they are, you know, very, very different, Reiko and Natsume, but they're also very similar in regards as well. I know. And then, of course, the other yokai kind of doubt her. What I like also is they established that, you know, the yokai kind of doubt Reiko, and they're like, well, she's useless. How could she help us? Natsume would probably kind of take it on the chin and go, yeah, I guess, but I'm going to help out anyway. And he'd be very polite and sincere about it. She's like, hey, shut up and quit talking bad about me. Again, they're very different people, and I like seeing that difference. But when it counts, they are very similar. I also think that this is a very human conflict that these yokai are having, right? That Kabune, and of course, Gomochi says right from the start, she's very beautiful, isn't she? Gomochi was attracted to her from the start too, but he was very kind and subtle and respectful about it. So Senki and Hyako, their whole fight over her is actually a very human thing that we've seen happen throughout history. And so Reiko's just like, I'm gonna let this poor girl be like taken, hostage and held against her will. Hell no. I like Reiko's like, are you okay with this? Do you want to marry either one of them? And the moment Kabune is like, no, I just want to go home, Reiko's like, I'm gonna help you and we're gonna get out of this. I love that. So I also like that Reiko is smart. Reiko's like, I'm gonna fight these two, but I know that physically, I thought for a second, I was like, is she gonna headbutt these two and like punch them in the face? No, because Reiko knows that's not gonna work. Instead, she battles them kind of to a battle of wits. And one, she tricks Senki into climbing the tree to get the fruit when she could just knock it down. She was smart, it was clever, and it worked out to her favor. And Senki was like, oh yeah, okay. And I love that she got them to calm down, both of them, and to kind of realize how stupid it was what they were doing. And she's lucky. I would say Reiko is lucky, because if these two yokai had been a bunch of bitches, if these two yokai had been like Matoba, for example, and we're going to talk about that here in a hot second, then it would not have worked to her favor. The one thing that they do illustrate with the yokai in this episode is that they are creatures of their word and they are fair. They may be hostile, they may be aggressive, they may be even violent, but they're fair and they stick to their word. And I think that makes them a little bit easier for Natsume to deal with, because most of them are like that. Now, not all of them. We've seen yokai that are tricksters and yokai that don't adhere to their word quite a lot. But, you think about it, Matoba wouldn't have kept his word. So humans are no different, right? Some humans keep to their word and some don't. So she just got lucky that she got two yokai that would keep to their word. And I like Madara saying she was a crazy person. Mm-hmm. I swear, I know Madara is not the ghost of Natsume's grandfather. I know that he's not. I know he's not Reiko's lover in yokai form. I know that he's not. But I like to imagine that he is, because it just fits. It just works so well. And I'm going to keep imagining it until I'm told wrong by the show. Please don't spoil me. And if the show hasn't revealed that yet, then I'm just going to keep believing it until the show decides to. There's just too much revealing that it could be. Anyway, so yeah, so she convinces Senki to try to get the fruit. Doesn't work out, but Hyako's a little bit harder to mess with, because Hyako already had a plan. He wasn't like Senki and waited around for her to decide the terms of their battle. He's like, I'm gonna get this 3-nutted chestnut and get more than you, and if I do, I win. And she's like, that wasn't what I was gonna do. And he's like, too late, already decided, let's go. I do like that she gives the fruit to Senki, and Senki's like, what a strange girl, which that is very much something that Natsume would have done by and by. So Hyako, challenges her to this thing. I didn't know about chestnuts. We always hear the song, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, but by that point the chestnuts have been harvested from their prickly outer shells, right? Which is interesting. There are no chestnut trees where I'm from, so there are persimmon trees, but dear God, I don't know if y'all have been around persimmons before. Persimmons stink. They smell so bad. I've never ate a persimmon, but I know we have cows, and the cows will eat persimmons sometimes. They smell so bad. When they fall from the tree and they mush, they just stink. Persimmons have a nasty smell to them. But my mother, it's like an old wives' tale that you can cut open a persimmon seed, and whatever the root of the persimmon seed is, it will tell you how your winter is going to be. So you cut them open in the fall. If the seed is shaped like a spoon, that means that it's going to be a lot of snow. If it's shaped like a knife, it means there's going to be ice. And if it's shaped like a fork, it means you're going to have a mild winter. And it's not far off usually. So yeah, so the one yokai is like, instead of crushing you, whoever gathers the most chestnuts with 3 nuts that are considered lucky in the burr, whoever gathers the most wins. And again, Reiko is very lucky that these 2 yokai are yokai of their word and play fair, because I'm not saying she cheated by having everybody in the forest help her, but I mean, there were no rules saying you couldn't do that, but she's just lucky that he was too proud to ask the other yokai to be like, help me gather these so we can beat her. Like, she's lucky he didn't ask, that he was too proud to do so, because she wasn't too proud to beg in this moment. She was like, I don't want to lose. And again, that's tied to the fact that she doesn't want to lose. She doesn't like losing, so she's not too proud to beg, right? Which, you know, is interesting, because Reiko's like, I guess I'll go look for them. But she ends up asking the other yokai to help out because she really wants to win. And yeah, I like Gomochi questioning her, being like, why should you do this? And she's like, I want to see it through. I made this bet. I want to see it through to the end. And so I like Gomochi going to Kabune and telling her what Reiko is doing. I love you. It's establishing the 2 of them working together and being together before we even get to it later on. So then whenever the first time when she was about to fight both of them, it got late at night and she had to go home to whoever she's staying with, which is not her family. She doesn't have family. It seems like this does not seem like a Fujiwara setup. It seems like the people Natsume was staying with before, and she just had to be home so they didn't get mad. But this time, which I'm assuming maybe it's on the weekend, because Gomochi's like, well, isn't it bad for the children of men if they don't go home? And she says, oh, well, I'm not going to be scolded because the people I'm living with will be home late tonight. So if I go home right after sunrise, it'll work out. Which to me tells me that they're not checking in on her. They just want to see that she's there, like when they're awake. But if they get in late, they're not checking in. There's a lot not spoken in that scene that we, the audience, have to be like, okay, it's okay if she goes home super late because they're not going to check in on her. And the wind blowing there, she's like, I pity them for having to deal with extra baggage like me. That is an interesting moment of Reiko revealing how little she values herself and how little self-worth that she has and how she views herself as a person. And again, Natsume probably isn't far behind her, but the difference is Natsume has found friends and a family that do value him. And so he doesn't, I'm sure Natsume still feels like extra baggage in the sense of the yokai and the damage that they can cause and how he's worried about the Fujiwaras finding out, all that. But he has a little bit more self-worth than I think Reiko does in this. She's like, I wonder if I'd be able to go home tomorrow. And Gomochi sensing that, it was then that I realized that Reiko was more afraid of losing than she was of not being able to go home. Meaning that she doesn't have, she's more afraid of this one thing than she is of not being accepted a home, because her home life is probably not great at all. And to tell this to Natsume, who would understand how she felt, whenever he hugs Madara in that moment, Madara's like, what are you doing? I think Madara can tell that Natsume is like having a moment of nostalgia for before he came to the Fujiwaras. And I think it helps Natsume to realize like how lucky he is. Like, he's so lucky that he has the Fujiwara's home and these friends and this life. Because I think Natsume always realizes at any point he could have been like Reiko and chose to distance himself because he didn't feel like he had a place worth staying. And that's something too, I want to note it in the discussion, is that Reiko never stays in the same place. She's always on the move. She doesn't have a home that she feels is like a base she can come back to. She's always looking for somewhere else to go. And then you juxtapose that with last week's episode where Natsume's like, I want to stay here forever because I love this place and I don't want to leave. Those are such conflicting things. And it makes me realize after looking at the manga volume that I feel like the mangaka and the anime team strategically worked to make last week's episode come before this to kind of reestablish the difference between Reiko and Natsume and their circumstances at this time in the anime. It's just so cute. I love that the one little rabbit yokai waited and gathered the chestnuts and said, "Oh, it's not for you. I just got it, you know." And Gomochi saying it's going to be really close of who gathers more. And then Gomochi seeing Reiko fall asleep under the tree. And she looks so innocent there and such like a little kid there. And Gomochi's so nice. None of them ate her while she slept under the tree with all the chestnuts. And then they all show up while she's asleep. And their little expressions are so cute. Whenever they have the little ditto eyes, like the Pokemon Ditto, it's just, it sends me. But they dumped all the chestnuts they found. And they kept on. They found all of them. And then Kibune, they gathered them so they could free her. And then, of course, Hyako shows up with the giant bag that he found. But it could not compare to all that the people in the forest brought to her while she's still asleep. That's so sweet. And after the forest, they realized how the forest dwellers felt and they changed their ways. Because I think that at that moment, Hyako probably realized that the forest dwellers were siding with Reiko to release Kibune. And he was like, yeah, I probably should, now that y'all are mentioning that. I love it. Kibune was taken by Reiko, but Reiko freed her. If there's somewhere you want to go back to, go. And it's wonderful, isn't it? The people at home will be waking up soon. She's like, I like that she's like, I'm jealous that you have a place that you can go home to and that you want to go home to. Just the feels, y'all. But then she never comes back. I like Natsume saying she could have made a connection with those yokai, but she either didn't realize it or she kept her distance and didn't want to notice. I think Natsume, again, is very different from Reiko in the sense that Natsume wants to forge connections. He wants to have a place he can call home. He wants to have a grounded existence. And Reiko just could not let her heart allow that to happen. And so it constantly made her separate herself from humanity, away from yokai, away from everyone. And Natsume's like, that just is such a hollow existence. I think he pities his grandmother and feels sorry for her, but also recognizes that that's not how he is. He's not the same as her, which is, you know. And then Madara says she really was a no good woman. And Natsume's like, shut up, sensei. Again, how does Madara get away with saying that? How does he get away with saying she was no good woman? How does he get away with saying that? And Natsume being like, Madara, I don't know. We don't know that yet. He's like, I don't get many chances to hear about my grandmother, so thank you. Which is sweet. And he's like, what was the update? And he's like, oh, well, you know, after that, as Kibune and I waited and searched for Reiko, we came to love one another. And so we're going to get married. I love it. It's so cute. And then there's like everyone there, all the yokai, even the ones that were fighting, they're next to each other. Like everyone's there. Also, the image of Natsume holding Madara and Madara's like leaning over with the sake cup as Natsume's holding him. Freaking cute. Freaking cute. But yeah. And the two of them, there's the little flower yokai and then her and him. It's so sweet. I was a little upset that Reiko didn't get a chance, but also a little proud too. Yeah, I love that. I love being able to be proud for your grandmother bringing these two together inadvertently. It's so cute. And them all throwing the flowers. I love Madara just standing there with his little smug cat face. It's so cute. I love this. The sad thing is Reiko didn't realize the impact that she had on these two yokai and how it brought them together, but now her grandson gets to see it. The trajectory of those little actions, the theme of those little actions all coming together and adding up into something beautiful, it's just, and the idea that little gestures that you do of kindness, that they have trajectory and have impact that you won't even know while you exist. Shut up, show. Shut up. So, yeah. Oh, this episode was amazing. Loved this. This was so cute. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. I'm pretty excited for next week because we'll talk about volume 14 and we'll do episode 71, which is episode 8. The rule of 8, y'all. The rule of 8 is already here for season 6. What? What? So yeah, rule of 8 next week, as well as volume 14. I'm so excited. So in any case, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Natsume's Book of Friends.